Are you looking to grow revenues, increase profitability, or obtain financing? If so, you came to the right place.
Running a business is all about leadership. How do you become a better leader? Learn from the successful entrepreneurs and business owners how to lead your organization more effectively. That's why we created Leadership Live at 8:05, Talking Small Business, to help you succeed with your host, Andrew Frazier, Business Growth Pro and CFO and founder of the Small Business Pro University. Every Tuesday evening at 8 p.m. Eastern, we're joined by experienced entrepreneurs and business owners who share their secrets to success via live stream. Also, every Friday morning, we release a new podcast episode. Either way, you will learn about developing your business leadership skills from our roster of highly performing guest experts. Leadership Live is one of the many valuable resources provided through the Small Business Pro University, empowering business owners to learn, profit, and grow. Find out more at sbprou.com.
Good evening. Welcome to Leadership Live at 8:05. I'm your host, Andrew Frazier, and look forward to talking small business once again with you this evening. At the end of the day, your key to success as a small business owner is how well you can lead your organization through the challenges and opportunities it faces. So that's why we created this live stream and podcast for you. Each week, we have some great guests, and our theme for this year is sales and marketing, because those are your most important jobs as a business owner. So we're going to focus a lot on that, but also really focus on developing you and helping you to be able to do that more effectively. And, one key piece of that is you have to be on top of your game. Business can be challenging. You have higher highs, and then you can have low lows. So you have to be resilient. You have to be able to bounce back. You're going to get more no's than yeses. So how do you handle that, and how do you prepare yourself? And what our guest tonight is, and we're going to be talking about how to become more resilient. How do you keep yourself in tip-top shape, focused, and able to do your best work in your business. So that's very important for your success. I'm excited to have Diane Lang, who has a lot of experience in that. She does training. She's a counselor. She's an author. And she really can share some valuable insights with all of us. So I'm looking forward to talking to her this evening. Hey, Diane, how are you doing tonight?
Hi, how are you?
Excellent.
Thanks for having me.
No problem. Thanks for joining us, staying up a little later than usual, potentially. And, we're just going to hang out and have some fun chatting about small business. Is that all right with you?
I'm looking forward to it.
Excellent. So, there's no way I could do justice to your background. So what I'm going to do is have you take a few minutes, talk a little bit about, where you are, where you started, how you got to where you are, and some of the key highlights and learnings along the way. And then we'll jump back into, the topic, how to be more resilient. So take it away.
So I've been in the field for over 20 years. I've been working as a therapist. I now do more of counseling, educating, where I'm teaching both at the college level. I teach at Montclair State University in the Undergraduate Psych Department. Have been there over 15 years. I'm now working as a coach, doing more coaching and speaking. And really, the big topic that I talk about a lot is positive psychology and happiness, and really how to have a really good, positive, optimistic life, and which is really important in both our professional and our personal. So really thinking about how to be more happy, more resilient in what we're dealing with. And I say both personally and professionally, because whatever you're feeling personally affects you professionally. And again, if you're having issues professionally, it's going to, come into your home life. So we really want to be the happiest and the most resilient that we can be. So I'm really excited to be here and to talk about all of this with you.
Excellent, excellent. So, okay, so definitely, like you said, as a business owner, your life is your work and your work is your life. So it's really hard to separate those things.
Yeah.
So, one thing is there a way to separate those or separate them somewhat, or is it just something that is what it is and you just deal with it as as a combined approach?
Well, we always talk about having work-life balance, right? Where we know that we're going to work. And, in today's day, in 2023, the normal work week looks about, believe it or not, 40 to 60 hours. So I remember when I first started in the field, going back 20 plus years ago, anything in healthcare was like 37.5. Now, go ahead 20 years later, and the normal American's working 40 to 60 hours, if not more. So it's really hard to separate them, especially for a lot of people who are now working from home, because now the work and the life of being at home, your kids, all of that's kind of combined. So it's really about having balance. That is really the important thing. And I know we talk about work-life balance a lot. And when we talk about work-life balance, I think of it more as really making sure that you can have self-care, because self-care is one of the most important factors of your work-life balance. And when we think of self-care, I just want to talk a little bit about that for a second. A lot of people think of self-care and they think about going to get a massage, going for lunch with friends, going to a spa, and all of that is wonderful and keep doing it. But when we're talking about self-care, we're really talking about preventative. And what we mean by that is we want to do things in our daily routine that are preventative of us burning out, whether it's corporate burnout, whether it's being a parent and having parent burnout or caregiver burnout. And if you have kids, you are automatically a caregiver. Whatever burnout it is, we want to be preventative of that. We want to reduce and minimize our stress and anxiety, because we cannot live a stress-free life, but we can manage our stress. And self-care is really the key there. So we're thinking about preventative. And one of the first things I always talk with my clients about is really thinking about, are your basic needs met? Which sounds so simple, but really when we are business owners, or even if we're working for somebody else and working 40 to 60 hours, we commute, then we come home and we have kids and a family life and a social life and whatever else you're dealing with, it's really hard to have your basic needs met. So what I mean by that is I want you to think of your foundation, because when your basic needs are met, then everything else runs smoothly. When they're not being met, we feel off balance and we feel stressed out and unhealthy. So the first thing to think about are your basic needs. And this is what it looks like. How much sleep are you getting? Which is a really important factor. My client right before this really is struggling with sleep for the last few days due to a situation in her life. But when you're not sleeping, you literally have such a hard time focusing, concentrating, and having clarity. So, they tell us to get 7 to 9 hours of sleep, which would be great. I'm not sure I know many entrepreneurs who do that. The normal American gets 4 to 6 hours. That's it. And I know I am in there. I'm one of the first to admit my normal is like 5 to 5.5 hours. I wish I was getting more. I'm working on trying to get more of it, getting 6 to 6.5 and working my way up. I have some physical issues that affect me, but the normal reason why we don't sleep, besides pain, which, then you deal with pain management or medications, is stress. So really making sure, again, to manage your stress so you sleep better. So if you can at least get 6 to 6.5 hours, we're really doing ourselves a benefit, because it helps our cognitive skills. So our attention span, our focus, our concentration, our memory, our moods are all focused by, they're all affected, by your sleep. So that's the first thing I want people to do, is think about how much sleep am I getting? And if you're one of those people like me not getting enough, we want to work on sleep first.
Okay. But while you're on this topic, some people say, you can make up sleep if you missed it during the week. Is that valid? Does that work? Or do you really just need to get it every night?
I wish that was the case, because then I would be making up lots of sleep. But no, you really can't make up sleep. But you really just want to focus on getting a good night's sleep as often as possible. And again, it's not always possible. Sometimes you're sick. Sometimes there's, situations going on with your kids. Things happen, and it's not always realistic. But the more nights that you can get at least, and again, 7 to 9 hours is the best, but we really want to focus on, because what happens is after your third night of sleeping less than 6 hours, so if you have 3 nights of 6 or less than, it's like not sleeping for 24 hours cognitively. Your attention span, your focus, your concentration, your memory, your moods are all off. And that affects you both personally and professionally. And a thing to remember about that is moods and emotions are completely contagious. So if I go into work and I'm exhausted from not sleeping and also stress and whatever else is going on in my life, not only is it affecting me, everybody around me is going to notice it. And we notice people's moods within about 30 seconds to a minute, and their mood starts becoming our mood in about 5 minutes. Negativity flies way faster than positivity. So if I come into a room, let's say we're having a business meeting, I come in and I'm in a really bad mood, everybody starts noticing it right away. And then within about 5 minutes or so, it starts going to everybody else. So we really want to make sure we're in as good health as we can get with sleep. And we'll go into the rest of the basic needs, not just for ourselves, but how it affects everybody around us. So I wish we can make it up. We can't, but we can all try by starting to get a good night's sleep tonight. That's the deal, Andrew. That's everybody's homework, is try to go to sleep, at a good time tonight. And just a few sleep hygiene tips, trying to go to bed around the same time and waking up the same time. So even if you wake up earlier for work on the weekends, you still want to get up around the same time, because we want that sleep hygiene pattern. So go to bed around the same time, wake up around the same time. You want your room to be as cool and dark as comfortable. You want to think about this. Whatever you're thinking about 20 to 30 minutes before you go to bed affects how you sleep, if you sleep, what mood you wake up in the morning, and how you dream. So before bed, you want to only have things that are very calming or positive, whether it's you're going to take a hot bath or hot shower, you're going to sit down and watch something that's fun. We don't want any news or anything that promotes fear or anxiety before bed. But you want to do something that's calming. I always suggest meditation or prayer or, some kind of stretching. Any of that, gratitude is really great. But this is the best thing. If you're having a hard time going to sleep, the best way to get sleep is a book, reading an old-fashioned book, because we know technology and the blue light, and it stimulates. So if you can read a book that's calming, something you enjoy, that would be great. So 20 to 30 minutes before bed, what are you thinking about? And then the other one is about 30 minutes to 60 minutes, actually even longer. Try to get off your technology. I'm not going to say TV, because everybody will yell at me, but definitely your smartphones, your technology with all that blue light, even if you wear those glasses, we want to stay away from that, especially social media, before bed. So just a few hints on, dealing with the bedroom and trying to get the right amount of sleep.
Okay, excellent. So we got a few more points to cover, but before we do that, I just want to take a quick break. Share a little bit about an event that I'm doing later this week, which is the Small Business Power Breakfast and Conference. And here's a little bit about it. Okay, welcome back to Leadership Live at 8:05, talking small business. I'm here with Diane Lang, and we're talking about resilience. You know, first we're talking about, how to get your basic needs met. So we talked about sleep, but could you just list out, what are the basic needs that we should be thinking about?
Sure. So we just went over sleep. That's the first one. The second one is diet. And remember, sleep and diet are very connected, because when we don't sleep, the next day we wake up and we want to have energy. So we go towards caffeinated beverages or sugary types of food, kind of like those vending machine foods that we eat at the office, or coffee. And you want to be mindful of that, because there's nothing wrong with having a cup of coffee or tea. But what happens is, if you already have a lot of stress or you're an anxious person, caffeine and sugar can make you a little more jittery, which can add to our stress and nerves. So just be mindful of it. Be mindful if you're eating enough. We don't want to get famished, that we're not eating for hours and then we get that hungry, angry. And I always have clients say, I skipped lunch today and I didn't even eat breakfast. And then they wonder why, they're binge eating later, or they're moody or ready to snap. So we really want to make sure we're eating well. And I always tell my clients, bring like a protein bar or a protein drink if you're commuting, you're on the road with work. So you always have something just in case. So diet's the second. The third one is water. And when we say water, we mean just water. The only things that count as water is water or flavored water, preferably flavored water you make on your own, so there's not too much sugar in it, or any kind of herbal decaf tea like chamomile, which is what I'm drinking now, or lavender, or vanilla, honey, something like that, or broth. So water, again, we need that for our energy, but we also need it for focus and clarity. So are you getting enough water? And I always tell my clients, make sure you have water right next to your computer, because you're going to be there. So you want to really think about making sure it's there. And one of the things that we've noticed for a lot of people, in the afternoon after lunch, we get those like afternoon blues where we're just like, we're so tired at work. And again, we go for that coffee or vending machine snack. And a lot of times it's water. So after lunch, for 2 weeks, try this. Just try and add 2 more glasses of water after lunch, just sipping it. And it takes your body about 2 weeks to adjust. But by the end of the second week, almost everybody says, wow, I have so much more energy and focus and clarity. A lot of times we just need water. So adding that water. And lastly, exercise, which is beyond important, because exercise does a few things. It reduces your stress hormone, cortisol. And it also produces endorphins, which is that happy chemical, which is why we feel really good after we work out, no matter what it is. But I'm just going to stick with walking, because walking scientifically is one of the best ways to get mindfulness. And mindfulness is the only natural way to de-stress, no side effects. So if you can just do a walk 4 times a week for 20 to 30 minutes, we get a lot of the similar benefits we would from an anti-anxiety pill, but with no side effects. Now, when the weather's better, not like today where it was snowing and, cloudy the last few days here in New Jersey, but when the weather's good, if you can walk outside, even better, because you get the fresh air, nature, which produces mindfulness, but you also get the sun, which is vitamin D, which we need for our immune system, we need for our bones, but really it's great for the moods, especially if anybody has seasonal affective disorder or winter blues. So you want to get out there and get as much fresh air. So the basic needs: sleep, diet, water, and exercise. And again, that's your basic foundation for building that work-life balance. So making sure you have those. And the other thing with work-life balance is having routines. Routine, consistency, schedule. When we have those, not just for ourselves, but our family, for our jobs, it really makes a huge difference in our overall attitude. So really making sure that you have a good morning routine and a good evening routine. Some of my clients like a certain mid-afternoon or lunch routine. That's up to you. But my suggestion is having a morning and an evening routine. And it doesn't take a lot. I know for a lot of people, they're like, oh, I don't have time. You just want to incorporate little things into your day, whatever that is for you. But you want to start off in the morning and have a good morning routine, because that sets you up for the day. And one of the easiest things that everybody can do is that you just make your bed. Takes 30 seconds to a minute. It's a military activity. But every time you make your bed, it gives you the positive emotions of accomplishment and pride just by making your bed. And those are positive emotions. And every time you feel that, it boosts your happiness. So just by making your bed, eating a healthy breakfast. Now, some of my clients will start their day off doing prayer, which is great because prayer is a form of mindfulness, and it doesn't matter what type of prayer you do, religious, spiritual. Others like to do some yoga or go for a walk. Some of my clients like to do what we call a free write, which is just journal writing, another form of mindfulness where you just write out whatever you're feeling. But you want to start your day with a little bit of a routine just to start off with your, good foot forward, and then have a great evening routine because that calms us down and winds us down for bed. So having those both, because when we have a good night's sleep, we wake up in a better mood.
Okay, excellent. So you've got these key things. I think probably get like a 60%. So, and I'm not sure about the audience, but I got probably 3 out of 5, or maybe 2 and 2 halves out of 5.
That's good though. That's good.
So I still need to work on it. So it's good too. But in the audience, if you're there, give us your percentage, so we can get a feel for kind of where you think you might be as far as this. So Diane, these are all key things, and everybody wants to do them, but it's not always easy to do them, especially as a business owner. So
yeah, it is hard. I'm not saying that at all. It's definitely hard, and I'm a business owner and have been for 6-7 years, and it's definitely tough. But I have to say this: everybody who has their basic needs met and does the routine will actually say they feel a huge difference, and both professionally and personally. And we're just saying add little things in to be realistic. Like, I just want to give this little bit of a nighttime routine. For my clients at night, all I have them do right before they go to bed. And again, as we said, whatever you're thinking about 20 to 30 minutes before you go to bed affects how you sleep, if you sleep, what mood you wake up in, how you dream. So there's 2 things I have my clients do. The first one is gratitude. So right before bed, they could either say it out loud, write it down like a gratitude journal, say it out loud, say it in your head, whatever you want. But I just want you to ask yourself, what are 2 to 3 things you're grateful for that happened today? And I want you to look through your day for the little gifts, blessings, and miracles. The littles, it could be that you made it there before it rained. You got great parking. There was no traffic on Route 80. I don't know if that miracle ever happens, but whatever it is, it's just noticing the little things. Now, why that's so important is, again, gratitude is a positive emotion. So every time we feel grateful, we get that boost of happiness from the positive emotion. But gratitude is a superpower. Not only do you boost your happiness, but it literally cultivates mindfulness. So not only do I boost my happiness, but I reduce my stress hormone right before bed and lower my blood pressure because it's a form of mindfulness, which is all perfect for bed. So that's the first thing. Now, right afterwards, I have my clients again, either write it, say it out loud, or, do it however you want. Ask yourself this question: what are 2 to 3 things you did well today? And again, you're just looking through your day for the little things. Now, why that's different than gratitude is I can be really grateful that it didn't rain today. I could be really grateful that I didn't hit traffic, right? Should be grateful for those, but I don't have control over those. I wish I did, because I would say no traffic and sunny and 80 degrees. But what I did well are the things that I put the effort and the hard work into. And that's the difference. And it could be the littlest things. Like this morning, I actually took those 5 minutes and meditated. It could be as simple as I asked a question today at work. I normally stay quiet because I'm scared to. I said no instead of yes and moved that chore over because I knew I didn't have time. It doesn't matter what it is. But every time we ask ourselves, what are 2 to 3 things I did well? Again, we get those positive emotions of accomplishment and pride. The other thing is, asking those two questions, gratitude and what did I do well today, they start shifting your perspective of what you noticed during the day. And why that's important is happiness is a perspective. Where do I choose to put my attention and focus? When I start noticing the good, the gratitude, what I did well, I start noticing the good in a bad situation, the purpose in a painful situation, and that builds resiliency. Because now I'm seeing the good in a bad situation. I can see the silver lining. I can see the end result, the outcome. And not only does it, produce happiness and mindfulness, it does that retraining your brain because you're noticing the good. Now, this is really important because we have the ability to choose where we put our focus and attention. So just to put that out there, the mindset is in your control. And your mindset is your habit, beliefs, and patterns. That's in our control. So by me looking through the day and noticing the good and starting to retrain my brain to look for that stuff, I'm shifting my perspective. I'm shifting what I notice. That starts shifting my happiness and my resiliency. And again, the mindset is in your control. And just making those little shifts make huge difference. And I have to say, I've been doing it. And what I've noticed from my clients and myself included is gratitude and the 2 to 3 things I did well. It took me about 3 months before I started noticing it. Most of my clients will say the same thing, somewhere between like 2 and 3 months of consistency, which is very important. And they all said the same thing as what I felt. And it really just verified that this was such great science. And it's all from the science of positive psychology. But it's true. Somewhere around 3 months, all of a sudden, and this was years ago, because I've been doing this for years, I realized, wow, I really can see the good and the bad situation. I can see that all bad situations are temporary and that, there's a bigger picture here. And that all happened when I did those 2 happiness habits, gratitude and 2 to 3 things I did well. So if you want to add that into your nightly routine, and if you just say it out loud or in your head or you write it, takes you a few minutes. And at night, it's so important to do it because, again, whatever we're thinking about before bed affects how we sleep. And for a majority of us, right, once we shut the light and the TV off and we say goodnight to everybody, that's when the brain starts ruminating. You start thinking about what happened today. Why did I say that? I should have said something else. How am I going to get this done tomorrow? And we start stressing out and going down that negative spiral. But if we switch it and instead go, what am I grateful for today? What did I do well? Now I'm seeing things from a different perspective. I'm ending on a positive note. And the other thing you could do at night before bed is whatever you're thinking about for the next day, appointments you have to do, emails you have to return, whatever it is you have to do both personally or professionally, right before you go to bed, write out that list. Because if not, you'll either ruminate on it or, like me, when you wake up at 2 a.m, if I don't write my list, I go to the bathroom, I wake up, and then it starts ruminating. Oh, I have to do this tomorrow. Oh, I have to send this out. Oh, I have to call this person. And it'll keep me up. So write it out. And that will help too. So that's a little bit of an evening routine. And again, we're noticing that we're adding in mindfulness. We're adding in positive emotions. But again, it shouldn't take that long. My routines really, in the morning, it's longer because I do a workout and that's for me. But if I didn't work out, my morning routine would be very quick and my evening routine would be, less than 10 minutes. So really thinking about having that work-life balance, building that happiness and resiliency, basic needs met and routines. All right, I'll stop babbling, Andrew.
No. I mean, I think that's great. You hit on a few key things, and being a former naval officer, I understand the make your bed thing. And the military's leadership is time tested. So a lot of things they do, they've been tested over hundreds of years potentially. So they wouldn't do them if they didn't work.
Exactly.
So definitely that. I think that one of my friends told me he went to a presentation and the presenter said, you're not really an entrepreneur if you don't have at least 50 things on your list. So
at least, exactly.
So definitely, your list, many days I feel like my list got longer rather than shorter. So looking at your accomplishments definitely helps, because, a lot of times it may feel like you're going backwards. So I don't know if you find that as well.
I do. I honestly, like, every time I make a transition, professionally or personally, you make this transition, whatever it is, maybe you change your mindset, you reduce toxic people from your life, you change your habit, and you feel really great that you've done it, and you get that accomplishment and pride, and you're proud of yourself, for reducing the fear and the stress. But then you hit this lull of, okay, I did that, what's next? Because you've worked on that so long, and now that's gone. It's like, okay, I feel weird, because sometimes you feel weird without that habit. It's, awkward, uncomfortable, or maybe you got rid of some chaos, and then you're like, okay, now what? Or you got rid of things that was too much, and now you have more space, and you're like, what do I do with that space? So absolutely, I think we all go like those up and down roller coaster rides as an entrepreneur. Absolutely.
So, yeah. So no, definitely that. Definitely gratitude. You could spend all your time thinking about yourself and your business, and
Oh my God, yeah.
Never really think about others. And it's important to take some time to think about and do for others, because it actually helps you. So definitely, I think that makes a lot of sense. Nighttime routine, and doing a list so you don't think about it at night. So sometimes, instead of my list, I will, if there's too many things on that list, I will get up and do some of them and then go to bed, but definitely getting the rest. So cool. So no, I think we've hit on some good stuff. We're going to take another break, just real quick. Like I mentioned, my conference is this Thursday night and Friday, so invite you to check it out. So, we've got some great speakers. Melinda Emerson, the small biz lady, she's going to be talking about how to fix your business. I'm going to be talking about how to keep your cash flowing, which is extremely important in this day and age. And then we've got a panel on, one panel on achieving breakthrough results, and the other panel on building your small business ecosystem. All key things to your success as a business owner. And if you've never been to the Power Breakfast, definitely something you should check out. And, let me just take a minute, show you what it really is all about, and then I'll be back talking small business with Diane. Sounds good?
Is your business growing, and are you making enough money? If not, you need to join the Masterpreneur Club. The Masterpreneur Club is a community of business owners like you who are focused on growth and making more money. They follow the Master.
If you are looking to increase revenues, improve profitability, and or obtain financing for your business, you need to check out the Power Breakfast and Small Business Pro conferences.
My name is Andrew Frazier. One of the things we're here to do is supercharge your day.
Today's Power Breakfast has really been a phenomenal experience. I think it's exactly what business owners need, some true guidance of people who are genuine and really are leading them in the true direction of business growth and expansion.
The Power Breakfast is so important for the entrepreneurial community because it gives the various business people who come together an opportunity to interact and also do some business.
These events, hosted by Andrew Frazier, President and COO of Small Business Like a Pro, will supercharge your day.
Okay. Welcome back to Leadership Live at 8:05. Sorry, I hit the wrong video. So you saw the first couple minutes of something else. But definitely, if you're in the Jersey area and you're free, you're welcome to come by and join us. And if not, we will be live streaming some of the sessions. So, you can definitely find out more online, and here's a link to where you can go to register. And tonight we've extended our Martin Luther King Day sale, so you can get 20% off if you register by midnight tonight. So all that's in the chat. So cool. So Diane, we've been talking about a few things, but one thing that's big now, and it's been big forever, but it's actually talked about in public now, is mental health and mental health challenges. And I think they even say it's neuro challenged is one of the new terms. But I listened to a TED talk, and this professor did some research and found that most entrepreneurs have ADD. And talk a little bit about your experience with some of the things and what we should look out for. Sometimes we're walking around with things and we don't even know we have them.
So for mental health, which definitely has become a big issue now because of the pandemic. So we know that we were in a mental health crisis. So it's definitely getting more popular to talk about it and deal with it, even though it should have been an issue always that we deal with. So one of the things that I really think is a really important situation for the workplace is knowing when stress is turning into anxiety. And that's a big issue because a lot of times we don't know the difference. So stress is a normal part of life. We can't live a stress-free life, and that's okay because we can manage stress. But when stress turns into anxiety, it's a different situation. So I want you to be mindful of that. So what is the difference? With stress, there is a stressor or trigger in the environment. It's specific. We know what it is. So for example, I had a client a few months ago who said to me, I can't take it anymore. I loved my job, but my boss is such a micromanager and it's just getting worse and worse. And I've tried talking, nothing's working. And we just discussed her writing her letter of resignation. She comes back because she was gone for a few weeks. I finally see her about 3 weeks later and she goes, comes in. I said, well, did you resign? Did you write the letter? We discussed it. And she goes, oh my God, my boss left. He moved to a different position. She goes, it's great. I love my new boss. So what happened is the stressor left the building and so did her stress. But when stress turns into anxiety, even if the stressor or the trigger is gone, the stress and anxiety in your body still stays. So for example, you can literally have the stressor leave your environment and yet you're still always feeling stressed and anxious. That's a sign that your stress has turned into anxiety. Another way of knowing if your stress turned into anxiety is anxiety affects your whole entire body. You could be stressed out, maybe get a little headache, feel some tension. But when you have anxiety, you feel it everywhere in your body. And that's why we call our body the pain body, because we feel all of those emotions all through our body. So that's another way. The other thing is when you have anxiety, you get rumination, which is where you have constant thoughts all day. You wake up with them, you go to sleep with them. They affect your focus, your attention span, your concentration. They affect everything. And you feel like these thoughts you can't control. You can't stop them. And that's rumination. And when you're having rumination that's from anxiety, the rumination is always those constant thoughts about like doom and gloom, fear, excessive worry, and nervousness. And that's different than stress. So right there are just some signs. And the other one is you can start having anxiety attacks. And anxiety attacks, if you've never had one, and I'll go over what they feel like in a minute, if this happens to you and you're not sure what it is, always go to a doctor first because it could feel really scary. It could feel like a heart attack. So always make sure of that. But I'm going to tell you some of the, signs of an anxiety attack. But again, anxiety rears its ugly head differently for everybody. So I want you to be mindful of that. And I also want you to know that I'm just giving you some of the generalizations. You could have other signs or symptoms, but typically what happens with an anxiety attack is people say the first they feel it in their chest area. And it feels like either they say you have a brick on your chest and it feels really heavy. You're having a hard time breathing. For others, it feels like their heart is racing so fast, like it's going to pop out of their chest and they're going to hyperventilate. Either way, it can feel like a heart attack. And that's why we say if you don't know what it is, go to a doctor first. Once you've had it a few times, you know what it is, you know what it feels like on your body. The second place that they don't talk about as often, but definitely happens and can be just as scary, is you get globus, which feels like a little tennis or golf ball stuck in your throat. And your whole mouth and throat dry out and you have a really hard time swallowing. Other ways are hot and cold sweats, hot and cold flashes, the jitters, the shakes, dizziness, a headache. Some people pass out. Others, it goes straight to their stomach. Knowing what happens for you. Now, an anxiety attack, again, it could be specific. You know what it is. Like if you're afraid of heights and you go up to, top of the Empire State Building, you're going to have anxiety. You know what it is. It's specific. Once you get back down to the street, it's gone. Then there's spontaneous, where you don't know where the anxiety is coming from. There's no trigger in the environment, but yet you're having all of that anxiety. But remember, spontaneous means there's nothing in your environment, but you're still having all those thoughts. And that rumination, all those negative thoughts could lead to it. So you can have anxiety attacks as well. So those are some signs that stress has turned into anxiety. And what do you do when that happens? So when you're having a lot of anxiety, worry, fear, nervousness, and it's becoming overwhelming, too much stress, what can you do? A few things is, one, be aware. Identify it. I'm feeling stressed out. This is too much. I'm feeling anxious. Identify what you're feeling. Identify why you're feeling it. Those are really important. So what's going on here? Identify it. What are you feeling? What's going on? Why is this happening? That's the first thing to think about. The second thing to think about this when you're in the middle of an anxious, stressful moment is breathing. Because when we're stressed and anxious, we tend to hold our breath or shallow breathe, which makes us more nervous and jittery. So to self-soothe, which is different than self-care, right? Self-care is preventative. Self-soothing is, what am I going to do in the moment to de-stress, to ground? So breathing is one of them. Now, you can do deep breathing as self-care, but in the moment, a lot of times we talk about box breathing. Now, I was trained in grad school more in the 1-2-3 technique, which is all the same as box breathing. It's just a count of 3 instead of a count of 4. Whichever you remember is fine. There's no right or wrong in this. All it is to take like a deep breath, to really take that calming breath. All you want to do is you want to take an inhale through your nose, hold, exhale through your mouth. Very simple. So that's the pattern. You take a deep breath in through your nose, hold, exhale through your mouth. Now, if you can remember, you could either do the inhale, the hold, exhale for a count of 3, which is what I was trained, the 1-2-3 technique, or you could do it as a box breathing, which the military does, and that's just a count of 4. So again, it's the same pattern. Take a deep breath in, hold, exhale for either count to 3 or count to 4. If you end up doing a count to 2 or 5, or you just breathe, it's all fine, no judgment. So again, you just take that deep breath in. I'm going to do it for a count of 4. Maybe you want to try with me. So take a deep breath in for 4, hold for 4, exhale for 4, and repeat. Now, if you can do this just for a few minutes, even just a minute or two, you start reducing the symptoms of all that anxiety in your body and you start calming down. If you're in a safe, comfortable place, if you close your eyes, that can add to the relaxation. So you can do that. Another thing is just chewing gum, believe it or not. Or if you don't like gum, you have dental work, you just don't like gum, it's the repetition of chewing. And what the repetition of chewing does is it reduces that nervousness and worry. It also improves memory, so there's a bonus. So if you want to chew gum, I have a lot of clients who carry gum with them. So when they, get that kind of anxiety or they know they're going to be near a trigger, they just start chewing. I have another client who unfortunately got into an accident last January, thankfully okay. But for a few months, getting back into driving mode would cause him a lot of anxiety. He would keep peanuts and pretzels in his car because they don't melt or freeze. And when he started feeling anxious, he would just start chewing. And here's the thing right there, mind-body connection, right? Where do you hold all that stress, anxiety, nervous, worriness, anger on your body? Because then you know when you're being triggered. Like some people will say, I know it because instantly I get that nervous feeling in my stomach. It feels like someone's wringing a washcloth in my stomach. Others say they get a migraine or, headache, or the jaw hurts. But start knowing what it feels like on your body, that mind-body connection, because that's giving you the warning sign, getting stressed, you're getting anxious, this is happening. And then you can kind of lean into it and identify what's going on, the why it's going on, and decide what you're going to do. So the mind-body connection is a very helpful technique. So you got the deep breathing, you got the chewing gum. Another way to self-soothe is self-touch. And you'll see a lot of clients do different things, or people in the workplace will do this. So the first thing with self-touch is a lot of people will just rub their hands together. It just reduces distress for them, and everybody does it different. But that might be. For others, they rub their arms or they give themselves a hug. One of the most common areas people kind of touch for relaxation is, and you can't really see, is the collarbone area. And you'll notice when people are stressed, they start rubbing their collarbone, or they play with the collar or the jewelry. That area right there is very soothing. For others, it's their hair. They'll, play with it or whatever they do to touch it. And that reduces. Some people put their hand over the heart just to feel the heartbeat. So you could do some self-touch. For others, it's a scent or a feel. So some people will have certain textures, like a stress ball, or a certain texture of a shirt or a stuffed animal or a blanket that relaxes them. For some, it's a smell, like a lavender oil, and they can just spray it or put it on. It's different for everybody, but your senses help relax you. And the other thing with that is what we call a grounding technique, which is another form of mindfulness, where you use your senses. And you could do it as an exercise, which is called 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And again, in any order, right? What are 5 things I see looking around me? What are 4 things I hear? 3 things I touch? 2 things I smell? 1 thing I taste, right? And again, any order is right. It's just a 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, just like box, just so you remember it, to make it easier to remember. But that's very simple. And if you don't want to do the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, you could just use one of those senses. So maybe you just go outside and you look around and you just start noticing what's around you. Maybe instead of looking, you close your eyes and just, what do you hear? You hear the birds and the bees. Not yet, it's winter, but maybe. You hear the dog barking. You hear the cars going by, the wind through the trees. Just using one of your senses. Now remember, with grounding or mindfulness, why it works is it brings you back to the here and now. And when we're stressed, anxious, angry, worried, we're usually either in the past, thinking about what we should have done, what we could have done, past regrets, or we're carrying all that past baggage with us into the moment. If we're not in the past, and we're usually in the future, where we have that anticipatory anxiety, we're thinking about what could happen or what if. But when we're here in the moment, we reduce our stress hormone, cortisol. We lower blood pressure, we reduce chronic pain, we calm ourselves, we self-soothe, we sleep better, and all of that's so important. So grounding, the mindfulness, however you want to do it. And one of the great self-talks that remind me, and I know work for me and work a lot for my other clients, is we do that self-talk. Yep, I'm feeling stressed, I'm feeling anxious, I'm having an anxiety attack. We do self-talk. 1, this is temporary. Whatever you're feeling right now could be horrible, but it's temporary. The only constant in the world is change. So it's temporary. Even if you're having a full-blown anxiety attack, it feels scary, but it's harmless. Having too much stress and anxiety for months on end, harmful. 1 anxiety attack or a moment of stress, harmless. And my favorite statistic, 90% of what you fear never, ever happens. It's huge. 90% of what you fear never, ever happens. Now, out of that 10% left, 5% actually happens. So, yep, 5%. The other 5% happens, but not half as bad as you thought. It's more of a realistic, right? If you do that best, worst, realistic case scenario, which you can do, what would be the best outcome? What would be the worst outcome? But what's the realistic outcome? And a lot of times when we do that, it reduces our stress and worry, because we realize even if it's the worst case scenario, we can still handle it. So those are just some options with stress and anxiety, and being mindful if your stress has turned into anxiety, because those are some of the big things. And of course, depression as well. But with, 2.5, 3 years of pandemic and lockdowns and all the uncertainty, anxiety and stress has been huge. So just a few ways to work on it and to be mindful of it.
Okay, no, this is great. This is great. Valuable stuff. Some of it we know we need to do, but we just never do it. So this is a good reminder of how important it is. Now, one thing that entrepreneurs find a lot, and probably during the pandemic, it's increased for everyone, or for many people, is, it can be very lonely being an entrepreneur, because, it's harder to find people to understand you. Even in your household, they may not understand or appreciate what you're doing. They may not even fully agree with it. So, what are some strategies around loneliness as well?
So I understand this. I am a solopreneur. So, and especially after, COVID started, most of us are working from home, and it definitely can get very lonely. So I want you to do a few things and remember a few things. Number one, socialization is like the top factor of happiness. So what is included in socialization is to have a support system. So I want you to think about, who is your support system? Who is that? And we don't need a lot. We just need a few people. And here's the key word: that we have an unconditional loving relationship, meaning no matter what's going on, even if they don't understand it or been through it, because maybe they're not an entrepreneur, or it could be over something different, they will not, judge you. They will not abandon or reject you. They will listen to you with honesty. So they'll tell you if something you're doing is not good or harmful or unhealthy, but they would never abandon or judge you. And we need that support, because you can't heal, grieve, forgive, work through without. And if you're human, you need other people. You don't need a lot, especially if you're like an introvert, but you need a few people. So do you have a support system? Fun. So making sure you have some fun, asking yourself, how do you define happiness? What does it look like? What does it feel like? And scheduling in your happiness activities in your schedule, which should include some socialization with other people. So as much as you schedule in your business meetings, make sure you schedule in some time with friends or family, or coworkers, if that's the case, and you're just not working together anymore because of COVID. And lastly, you need community, which when you're talking about these meetings that you're doing, that's great community, where you can meet people, where you feel that sense of belonging and acceptance, because we all relate to each other. So we need that. And the other thing with loneliness, because loneliness and isolation are top factors of depression. So you want to think about, am I getting enough socialization? Am I spending enough time with other people that I enjoy? We want positive relationships, people who lift us up, that make us feel good, that we can depend on, both in the good and the bad, right? Because sometimes people are there for you when things are, bad. They want to be there, but when things are good, it makes them feel very jealous and they take a back step. We want people who just accept us for who we are and lift us up. So look at the circle of people you spend the most time with: friends, family, coworkers. Look at that group. Do they lift you up? Do they empower you? Do they make you feel good about yourself? Or are they negative, pessimists who now call themselves realists, or toxic, narcissistic people who bring you down, who make you feel worse about yourself? So make sure your friendships are positive, your coworkers, everything. And again, boundaries and limitations if they're not. And then make sure you reach out, especially if you're working from home. I have a new client who just started working from home, and I'm like, once a day, reach out to somebody, whether it's an employee that you don't get to see that often, a friend or family member, or putting yourself in social situations, going for a walk, bringing your dog to the dog park, going to one of the network meetings, but making sure, because isolation and loneliness, top factors. So check on each other. And again, these technologies, Zoom, StreamYard, iTeams, they're great. FaceTime on your phone is great, but in person is always the best. But if you can't do that, hearing a voice or seeing a person is absolutely the next best thing. So always remember that socialization, top factor of happiness.
Okay, no, great. And in business and life, it's about relationships.
Absolutely.
That drives your success in many ways.
Yeah.
And also, we've covered like a whole bunch of powerful stuff. I know you've written a book. Is all this in your book?
Not all of it, but a majority is in my latest book, Mindfully Happy, Waking Up to Life, which you can see on my website or you can get on Amazon. So I try to cover as much of it as I can, but I wrote that book a few years ago. So I need a new book. I just haven't had enough time to write that yet. As you know, as an entrepreneur, that becomes really tough.
Yeah. I have a few underway, but definitely finishing them is key.
Yes.
So you've got Diane's website here, so you can check her out there, and just see a little bit more. Also, I'm glad we've got this recorded because I will probably have to come back because you did cover a whole bunch of stuff, and I want to take some notes. So everybody listening, you can come back right here and see the recording. So or right where you are and see the recording. So definitely worth doing because these things can make a huge difference in your level of success as a business owner and in life. So Diane, since we covered so much stuff, can you take a second and just say three things? If you're going to do something tomorrow, what are three things you should think about doing?
First one would be gratitude. Totally shifted my life. So if everybody could do, even if it's just one thing you're grateful for today, do it. It has made such a huge difference. So that would be my first one. My second one would be literally my basic needs. And that would be my second and third. Making sure that you are exercising, because not only does that affect your physical health, which is important in your cardio, but it affects your moods. And that is just huge. And making sure you have mindfulness in your day. And exercise is a form of mindfulness. But if you're not exercising or you can't for physical reasons or in days when you don't or you're hurt, make sure you do something mindful. Again, whether it's meditation, prayer, stretching, yoga, journal writing, whatever it is, make sure you have that. Really important. And thank you so much for having me and sharing the information. I appreciate it. Hopefully we can help a few people to reduce their stress and get some more balance in their life and feel happier and resilient.
Okay, definitely. So thank you so much for joining. Definitely this is a really powerful message that entrepreneurs and business owners need to hear. But not only just hear it, but internalize it.
And do it, right?
And you don't have to do it all at once, but at least make some progress and continue. And you've got the three things that you could start off initially. So, definitely, thanks again. And look forward to catching up with you further, have you on the future. So, so just hang out for a minute and let me just close things out. So, first, I just want to thank everybody from joining. Thanks for your comments. I got a couple of comments about the event. So, the conference is actually this Thursday evening. There's a networking reception from 6 to 9 or from 5 to 8. Everything's in Roselle Park, New Jersey. And then Friday, we have the full day conference with the breakfast and lunch speakers and panels. So, if you can make it, definitely check us out. We've got in the comments, we have both the registration link. You can use this link, or just as easier to remember, you can just use www.the-power-breakfast.com and it'll take you there as well. And tonight only, you can save on our Martin Luther King Day registration code MLKDAY. Make sure you make them all capitalized. And I hope to see you on Thursday and or Friday. So definitely excited about that. It's been great. I can't even believe it. We've been doing Leadership Live for 2.5 years. And we've pretty much done every single Tuesday night over that whole time. So definitely enjoy doing that. Enjoy hanging out with you. Next week, we've got a topic that's helpful for a lot of business owners about something that can be confusing for you. We've got Alan Valvano coming, and we're going to talk about payroll and personnel. Payroll when you have employees, it's important to understand what that is, how it works, what the fees are, and what the responsibilities you have as an owner, because it can be a little bit overwhelming, and just personnel, working, having employees and other stuff can be challenging. In my book, Running Your Small Business Like a Pro, I think it's the 5th chapter that says, is it me or my employees crazy? Because many times, having employees can be challenging and make you pull your hair out. So definitely join us next week for talking about payroll and personnel with Alan Valvano. Join me at the Power Breakfast Thursday or Friday, or watch us on live stream. And, we're launching a new community for entrepreneurs and business owners. So you'll be hearing more about that over the coming weeks. So hopefully you'll join us, and, it should be a great thing. So at the end of the day, as an entrepreneur, as a business owner, the more that you know, the faster your business will grow. Thanks and good night.
Thank you for listening to Leadership Live at 8:05, Talking Small Business. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and to the podcast on your favorite podcast platform. Leadership Live is one of the many valuable resources provided through the Small Business Pro University, empowering business owners to learn, profit, and grow. Find out more at sbpro.u.com.